Rise up!
This is the Rise Up See Red podcast, all about the Arizona Cardinals and the NFL, featuring insider and outsider perspectives. Enjoy the best hour of Cardinals talk on the web. Now here are your hosts, Jess Root and Seth Cox.
Arizona Cardinals fans, and welcome to the latest edition of the Rise Up See Red podcast, best hour of Cardinals talk on the web. I'm your host, Jess Root from CardsWire.com, Arizona SB Hello, Arizona Cardinals fans, and welcome to the latest edition of the Rise Up See Red podcast, the best hour of Cardinals talk on the web. I'm your host, Jess Root from CardsWire.com, the USA Today NFL wire site that covers here, of course, your Arizona Cardinals, and we are here, episode 720. With my co-host, Seth Cox from RevengeOfTheBirds.com, SB Nation's Arizona Cardinals site, as we get to react to the Cardinals' 41-22 blowout loss to the San Francisco 49ers with so much to just not like. Even though, like, if you look at some of the numbers, you're like, well, the Cardinals played well. They had almost 500 yards of offense. But that's about it. It's kind of comical how just the situation is. So yeah, 41-22, second straight game of giving up over 40. They scored. It appears the offense has found its cap in this, with this iteration of the offense scoring, 22 to 27 points and giving up a ton. Seth, what are we going to do about these Cardinals?
Well, I mean, it's just interesting because I obviously we both run sites and things of that nature, and it's fans don't care. They're weirdly okay with this, and so it's just, what can you do, right? Like in reality, like, what can you do with this group, and how do you make them not care? If that's what they feel and that's what they want, then there's nothing you can do about it. And you
resignation.
Right. You just let it play out that way.
It is basically that point where it's I'm not invested emotionally into this team anymore. In fact, the way things went in Seattle, that was laughable. The way it started against, all I can do is just laugh and go, well, here we go. Because and let's talk about, like, just initial impressions. The overall feeling from the game is, I'm like, I'm here for the badness. Like, I'm here for the terrible play. And when the opening kickoff gets taken 98 yards, like, it was just after they got their asses handed to them in Seattle, they come home and that's how they open the game. It's like, do the Cardinals even, it's weird. It's like, do they even want to win anymore? Or are they just going through the motions at this point?
Yeah. And it was interesting because that all comes down to coaching, right? And, like, people look at things and look at how it goes, and they go, well, what are they going to do? And it's like, well, what they're going to do is hopefully not crap the bed like they did. And I don't know. It was just a really interesting game overall. And the way it came about was just, like you said, it was just incompetence.
Right. You go on top of that. Yeah, it was the kickoff, the immediate touchdown. Then you look at, they fell behind 13-0. Defense would, like, they got nothing defensively, really. And then on top of that, the record-setting number of penalties, 17 penalties for 130 yards. And yes, not all of them were great penalties, but you would have expected, like, that's the thing that's disappointing. Is, like, we kind of feel like, well, has Jonathan Gannon lost this team? Because this isn't, remember, we've talked about them over the last 2.5 years. that in 2023 they cashed enough of those chips to keep playing at a high level, at least to competing at a high level. And you look at that first year, there was, I mean, they were overmatched, but there was only really one game where it felt like they had given up, and that was the Rams game in Week 12 in 2023. You know, the San Francisco game early in the season, 35-16, the 34-20 Bengals loss. It felt like they were competing the entire time. They were just being bad, and it was the Rams game when they dropped to 2-10 where it felt like they just kind of stopped. They were purposely that they didn't care. Last year, you had two bad games where they just didn't compete at all, and that was the Commanders game, that was the Packers game, and it was just they didn't compete at all. But after that, they were pretty solid. This year, we've gone to the heartbreaking. Hey, they give the they give the defense that just need to one more stop to we're getting the doors blown out off of this. You know, they beat the Cowboys and then it's just suddenly that's it. 35-0 deficit, 13-0 deficit, give up over 40, lose by 19 or more 2 games in a row. I'm like, it's just like, well, this is what you, I guess, and like and your reaction has been is like, this is what y'all wanted. This is what y'all wanted. You wanted Jacoby Brissett at quarterback, and look what you get. You get fancy passing numbers in losses that have been progressively worse.
Yeah, and the question is, what matters? Like, do those fancy numbers matter or wins?
I guess. Well, and then yeah, obviously, but even if they're not going to win, I'm like, now they're looking bad. It's embarrassing to see what, and this is a 49ers team that had been embarrassed the week before. Like, you would have thought, and this is what Gannon's teams have always done, is like they have a bad loss, even if they just was they were just bad. They've always bounced back and been disciplined and competitive. And after getting blown out against Seattle, you would have expected that. And it was the opposite of that. It was botched special teams. It was turnovers. It was bad defense. It was penalties on both sides of the ball. You know, like we find ourselves in kind of a crossroads here. And Jonathan Gannon promises they're going to turn it around. How in the world are they going to turn this around?
Well, and how do you trust this team to turn it around when there's a difference between playing close games and losing and being right there and then just not being competitive? And like you said, the last 2 weeks have not been competitive. You could even be okay with the Indianapolis game, the Green Bay game, but the last 2 weeks are really unacceptable, especially for a team that is in year 3 of their build, and more importantly, a team that's based on defense and is getting nothing from their defense.
Yeah, that is the thing that drives me. In going into the season, when people said, and I was on a couple of podcasts, I'm like, well, isn't the pressure on Drew Petzing? Now, say what we want about Drew Petzing. He had gotten good metrics and numbers from the offense in the first 2 seasons. This year, things fell apart. But the Cardinals have had a patently bad defense the last 2 years. They went out and put all their assets into the defense for Nick Rallis, and this year it's turned into a crap show. It really is. It's turned into a bad team. But my initial impressions about the feeling from this game is like, this is what y'all wanted. This is laughable. This has become a clown show to me, and I hate to say that about a team that I have for decades been hopeful and optimistic. And I have finally, at least right now, I've reached across the threshold of whatever, man, whatever.
Yeah, and you look at it, And the biggest issue, I don't want to say the biggest issue, right? But like the issue that became of everything is that you're looking at a team that was like the ideal behind the team, right? Was built in the mold of the Philadelphia Eagles. And we've had this conversation a number of times, and you know, people can say what they want about whatever they want, and that's fine. But it was built in the mold of the Philadelphia Eagles. The Eagles are 16th in offensive scoring. They're 28th in passing, 31st in pass attempts. And quite frankly, they don't even run the ball that well this year, right? They're 25th in yards total, like 17th in rushing yards, 25th in rushing yards per attempt. Like, they're not good, but they're a good defense, right? And so that's kind of what the mold is. And if you look back at their last two wins, 10-7 and 16-9, as ugly as those are, as bad as football as those are, you go, oh, okay, that's what the Cardinals want to be, right? Like, that's how you look at it. And so when you get to games where that's the idea, and you're looking at it and you're going, okay, that's how we want to compete. That's our brand, blah, 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 yada, yada, yada. And then it doesn't happen. You go, oh, okay, well then what are we as a team, right? Like what on earth are we? And I think that's what the concern has become, right? Is that this team just doesn't really show anything in terms of like what's their stamp? Like, what do you go, this team is good at X, or you know, Y or Z or whatever, you know, you get what I'm saying. But like, what are they good at? And I don't think
suddenly they're a good passing team,
right? And that's fantastic.
But it's also coming when they are behind, which makes it easy for volume passing.
Right. They're behind by a lot. They are basically playing against prevent defenses, and they're basically floundering when the game's out of hand. And those are not the time. And Jess, here's the other crazy thing. They scored 22 points. Like, you threw the ball 57 times. You had 450 passing yards, and you scored 22 points. Like, that's your season average. You did what you always do. And so people are like, oh my gosh, look at all these passing yards. By the way, Jess, do you know that they now rank first in passing attempts in the NFL?
Oh my gosh.
Like,
they were
29th.
They were in the bottom third. Oh my gosh.
They were 29th with Kyler. So again, like, the shiny numbers are cool, but they don't lead to anything. You're scoring the same amount of points.
Yeah.
And by the way, now your point differential is out of control.
Yes, it is. It's laughable, man. Coming up next on the Rise of Zero podcast, the best of our Cardinals talking live. Let's talk a little bit about one of the standout performers in the game, Michael Wilson. That's coming next on Rise of Zero. We're back on the Rise of Zero podcast, the best of our Cardinals talk on the web. One of the bright spots from the game, obviously, we're going to talk about Jacoby Brissett in a second. Trey McBride had a fantastic game, but he's consistently good. Michael Wilson, playing the wide receiver one role for the first time in his career because Marvin Harrison Jr. had appendicitis, had an appendectomy, and will miss at least the game against the 49ers. And what does Michael Wilson go and do? He's targeted 18 times, catches 15 passes for 185 yards. What a freaking debut. But you know, as awesome as that was to see from Michael Wilson, my only thing I can think of is like, so now they target their top receiver. This is when. So don't feed Marv, feed Michael Wilson. Is that the game plan? What we're doing now?
Well, and it's interesting because people are using this game as I told you Michael Wilson's the best receiver on the Cardinals roster. And here's the thing, he might well be. But like the fact that people are like, oh, look at, I told you that Michael Wilson, best receiver on the Cardinals roster. And you're like, when did you say that? Because I've never heard you say that. And so now you're saying like, oh yeah, this is the best receiver on the Cardinals roster, but you've never actually said that before. And now you're using confirmation bias to be like, see, I told you this was the best guy on their roster the whole time. And you're like, but wait, what? When did you say that? Because
no one did. Well, here's the thing. What it does is confirm what Tyler believes about Michael Wilson. Because he's the one who said, yeah, Mike, well, I believe he's 1,000-yard type receiver. Like if he's got the opportunity to do it. But, why is it that Michael Wilson can get 18 targets, but Marvin Harrison can't get more than 6 on target throws when he's targeted 12 times? It's almost like with the Philadelphia Eagles, like the way they handle AJ Brown, and they're saying, see, you get targets, and there's crap targets. It's throwing things on bad situations, uncatchable throws. I mean, I love the fact that Wilson did that, but I look at that as well and I go, well, if they can do that for Mike Wilson, why can't they do that for Marvin Harrison? And I know part of the answer is because the 49ers didn't treat Michael Wilson like Marvin Harrison Jr. That is 100% the case. They moved him around like they moved Marv. But the fact of the matter is one, San Francisco's defense isn't that good right now. And two, they didn't treat Wilson like Harrison. Why would they?
Right. Why would they? Why would they feel the need to in that instance? And so like all of those things, like you said, they come together to create the opportunity that happened. And again, not taking absolutely nothing away from what Michael Wilson did. That was a fantastic, fun, enjoyable outing to see. He played his off to get there, and it was great that it all worked out. And then at the same time, you look at it and you go, yeah, they didn't even like put them in a position to win. Like
close.
Like that's the hard part for me when people get excited about stuff like that, is like, and I feel like I've always been very consistent with this, is that I don't care. Like, I don't care that Michael Wilson put up 185 yards receiving, because they were all, I shouldn't say all, they were majority, to your point, garbage time, right? Like it was garbage time. And here's another thing, Jess, and I know that they're different players and the way they're used is different and blah, blah, blah. But like, think about this. Wilson in 10 games has 37 receptions on 56 targets for only 416 yards. Marvin in 9 games now, because he missed the one, obviously, 34 receptions, so less receptions, a little more targets, 62 for 5. Like Marv has 109 extra yards on 3 less catches. And people, and again, like, this is a good problem to have. It'd be great if Michael Wilson took that step and you're like, holy crap, Michael Wilson is a baller. And now you have 2 legitimate, like, high-end receiving threats as opposed to 0. And then you add in, maybe the best receiving tight end in the NFL. Like, holy crap, this is insane. But why are we saying, like, see, I told you he's better than Marv? Like, why? Like, what is like, I just don't understand the whole idea behind it. It's like, hey, let's knock one of our players to build up the other player, but also, do whatever we can to knock down a play. Like, it's just a wild scenario to me.
It's still, it was fun to see, but my takeaway was, well, when Marv gets back, let's do that too. Let's throw him the ball like they threw it to Michael Wilson. But anyway, coming up next on the Res Here podcast, the best of Cardinals talk on the web. Let's move on and talk about quarterback Jacoby Brissett, a record and monster numbers. That's coming up next on Rise of Sea Red. We're back on the Rise of Secret podcast of our Cardinals talk on the web. Brissett had a game for his career. I mean, 47 of 57 passing for 452 yards, 2 touchdowns, and the 2 interceptions. As he's been more prolific, the team has been doing less well, which is definitely unfortunate. He set an NFL record. I mean, I don't know. Like 47 completions in a regular season game. Woohoo. I mean, he completed a lot of passes, but he was on target and he had 452 yards. That is number 7 in terms of single game records for the Cardinals. But it took garbage time touchdowns to salvage what was. It was a really bad look because he had the 2 bad interceptions. He got the 2 late touchdowns. And you and I were texting about this earlier. That sort of performance, that just, to me, with those volume numbers, it felt like 1995 again. Like the type of games that the Cardinals starting quarterbacks had volume numbers in blowout losses. It felt like it's like the Cardinals are going the route of the Dave Craig and the Boomer, the washed up Boomer Esiason, the Kent Graham, all of the quarterbacks that the Cardinals burned through in the 90s. And they got a 450-yard performance with 2 touchdowns and 2 picks in a 19-point loss. That's not really something to celebrate, right? I mean, there were a couple of good things. One, he did not get sacked. He was hit only 4 times. Granted, San Francisco's pass rush is anemic. They only have 12 sacks on the entire season. So that was a positive, which allowed him to be able to deliver the ball down the field. But we're seeing monster pass numbers that really don't do anything different. Like the offense isn't better. They're not scoring more points. They're not getting closer to win. And I don't know what to think about this, but clearly Brissett is a capable starter in the NFL, but he's not a difference maker.
Well, and it's, again, what are you looking for? Are you looking for a guy that's going to put up numbers, or are you looking for a guy that's going to give you a shot to win? And that was what was always so interesting about he gives you the best opportunity to win. I'm like, then when do the wins come? Like that's my question.
We've turned close losses, heartbreaking losses, to blowout losses. That's it. It's the progression it's been.
And you look at it, and you mentioned, the numbers, right? Like he's 7th all time. Before him, Boomer Esiason. Isn't that, I mean, and obviously Boomer had a better overall career, but like, isn't that kind of the same thing, right? Like you look at it, Kurt Warner at the end of his career, was crazy and had, and you look at all these numbers, right? And it was really just Neil Lomax twice and then Jake Plummer once. That was like games that were, holy cow, like look at what they did. And people, I don't know, man, like it's wild to me that fans all of a sudden are like, whatever, you're gonna lose, and they're okay with that. That's where I struggle, because for so long it's always been like, you got to get somebody, like the quarterback's holding the team back. Okay, all right, so you change quarterbacks and now your team's undoubtedly worse. And the defense isn't as good. It's like, well, the defense is finally healthy, so why are they not as good?
Oh my gosh.
And so
it's wild, and it's crazy that, and I'm not saying this because Jacoby's not been bad.
No, and he's not been the issue. It's just showing that the issue is so much more systemic than it is nothing. Like we're just acting like, oh yeah, it's no big deal. Like so that's I think that's where yours and my problem stands for more than anything else in this whole situation.
It just doesn't make sense to. I mean, I guess it is the vibes. Vibes are like Jacoby's vibes are cool. He's putting them numbers. Maybe because he is the backup, but people believe that he was the better option. And if he's the better option, why are they no closer? Why are they no closer to winning than they were before? Other than that they beat the Cowboys again. And what is it? What's the record now? What's the record now under Gannon without Kyler? 2-1?
2-12, and those two wins are both against the Cowboys.
And in games where we can point to and say the Cowboys mismanaged those games. They 100% mismanaged those games.
Well, and it goes back to the question, like, look, you and I have, we've gone to the like, hey, like it's probably best for both parties if this is it under Kyler or with Kyler, right? But like, I think where you and I push back and where we kind of chuckle is like, wait, when did it not become about winning? When did it become about, well, look at how the stats? And it's like, well, wait, what? And that's the thing too, is like nobody really wants to acknowledge that they're just using counting stats and being like, see, look at how good they are. And it's like, okay, but why are they so much less efficient and effective? Like, why is that not being acknowledged?
488 yards. They outgained the 49ers by over 200 yards and lost by 19. Like, how do you pile up 400, almost 500 yards of offense and not get to 30 points at least?
Right. And so those are the questions that, you and I have, but what do we know?
Coming next on the Rise This Year podcast, Mr. Cardinals Talk of the Web. Finally, we get to talk about, the actual problem, and that's the defense. That's coming next on Rise Up See Red. Back on the Rise This Year podcast, Mr. Cardinals Talk on the Web. The defense, looking at the defense. Now, granted, this time it was the defense giving up over 40 against the Seahawks. 14 of those points came against the offense, thanks to DeMarcus Lawrence a couple of times. And so 44, the defense gave up 30 to the Seahawks and they gave up 41 to the 49ers. I mean, they didn't do anything well, particularly. Like, San Francisco only had 9 third down. Granted, 3 for 9, that's a good percentage, but the fact that San Francisco only had 9 third downs the whole game. Brock Purdy, 3 touchdown passes. Christian McCaffrey, they didn't slow him down. He had 3, like, their biggest weapons, like their biggest names, Brock Purdy, Christian McCaffrey, George Kittle. The Cardinals did nothing defensively to stop them from being their playmakers. Kittle had 6 catches for 67 yards, scored twice. Christian McCaffrey had 3 touchdowns, 121 yards from scrimmage. Brock Purdy's 19 for 26 for 200 yards and 3 touchdowns. It was like the Cardinals had no answer. And really, the only thing you can kind of look at and say, oh, Josh Sweat got another sack. He's at 9. So that looks good. They didn't get there. They only hit him 3 times in the game. They only had 3 tackles for loss. Good job, Walter Nolan with 2 tackles. Both were tackles for loss. He had a quarterback hit. But other than that, Cody Simon put up a whole bunch of tackles, 12 total tackles. But what we were looking at is it goes, here are the drives for the 49ers. Touchdown, punt, touchdown, punt, field goal, touchdown, punt, touchdown, end of the game.
Right. And the issue has become they don't do anything well.
They would stop the run. They're not getting the quarterback, and they don't get their hands on the ball.
Yeah, and all those things lead to games where, like, I don't think that we've talked about the craziest stat. You mentioned part of it, right? Total yards. The Cardinals outgained them by 200. Obviously, turnovers make a huge difference. Penalties make a huge difference. All those things are, play into it. But the Cardinals had a 9.5 minute time of possession advantage.
The 49ers had the ball for under 26 minutes and scored 41 points.
Like, that's what's crazy to think about, right? Like, both teams had 24 first downs. The 49ers, I'll say this, the Cardinals rush defense wasn't bad, right? 25 for 95. I know they gave up 2 touchdowns, but 25 for 95 is not terrible, right? But like the rest of it, there was no efficiency. They can't stop the pass like at all because they get no pressure on the quarterback, sans their rookie who gets 25 snaps. Like, that's what's wild to me is they have 2 guys that play less snaps combined than they had total snaps in the game, and Josh Sweat and Walter Nolan. Those were the only 2 guys that get any type of pressure all game on Brock Purdy. And then everybody's kind of like, well, yeah, what are you going to do? Right? Like, I'm like, wait, no, not what are you going to do? Like, where is your pride?
It's and the fact that they're coming in against a team that the Jaguars, we'll talk about the Jaguars, they've been scoring points.
Yeah,
beat down on the Chargers too. Holy cow.
The one good thing, I mean, it's not good, but the one good thing I would say is that, and I talked to my buddy John Shipley, who covers the Jaguars, and he's like, because I said I was just chatting with him, seeing if he was coming out for everything, and he's like, no, not going to make this one. And I was like, oh, you can just pre-write it, right? Like, bad Arizona Cardinals lose to Jaguars, and he's like, no, not with this Jags team. They're really, and I said, no, that is true. Like, you do have a team that is very up and down in Jacksonville, especially on the road. They're 2-2 on the road. They've had some, negative games. But I mean, the Cardinals haven't looked competent in 3 weeks now. Like, I don't know how you look at any game going forward and think anything positively of the Cardinals.
They do nothing well. They do nothing at all well.
They throw the crap out of them. Jess, they have a ton of passing yards. So there's that.
That they do indeed. For sure. Man, is there any hope for this team? Like,
here's the biggest thing, and I think you and I would agree. Like, whoever the quarterback is, whatever you guys want you guys can all fight that battle. Jess and I look at a lot of things, and the one thing that we look at is that this team is just not competitive, and that's the biggest concern overall. Is that they're just not like, they don't look well coached, they don't look well prepared, they don't look engaged. Like, I think if the offense was putting, if you were losing games 38-41, you'd be like, all right, they need to fix the defense. Or if you're losing games, 10-7, okay, they need to fix the offense. But they're losing games, like you said, the last 2 games, 85-44. They've outgained their opponents, and they're 0-2 and not particularly competitive against the second and third best team in their division. I mean, they haven't even played the best team in their division yet. And you look at their upcoming 3 games and how bad the defense has been, and you go, yikes.
Oh man, Jags, Tampa, Rams, Houston. Maybe they can beat Kirk Cousins and the Falcons. Maybe. But then they got to stop Bijan Robinson. So it's sad. And with that, we'll go ahead and wrap things up. Wrap up this edition of the Rise of C-Red podcast, Best Star Cardinals Talking Web. We will be back later this week to preview Cardinals Jaguars. I'll see if I can't get a Jaguars writer to join me as well. And with that, that's Seth Cox. I'm Jess Root. Thanks for listening as always. We'll be back again soon.
Thanks for listening to the latest edition of the Rise Up C-Red podcast. Listen to previous episodes and subscribe to the show on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher Radio, Audioboom, or many other podcast platforms so shows are delivered directly to your mobile device. Please give the show a 5-star rating and always support the sponsors who support the show. We'll be back soon for the best hour of Cardinals talk on the web. Rise up Red Sea, be Red Sea Red, and of course, Rise up Sea Red.